How U.S. trade war could leave Chinese private firms at risk of being taxed to death. Chinese entrepreneur Li Teng shut down his company last year, overwhelmed by his tax burden. In mid-2016, China replaced its business tax with a value-added tax, VAT, across all industries. Even though the adjustment was intended to reduce the overall tax burden on companies, the effective tax rate on Teng's Beijing-based firm rose by a percentage point. I also needed to set aside as much as 40% of my profits to pay Social Security tax premiums for my employees, said Teng. Every cost is rising, staff salaries, rents, and utilities. The only thing that goes down is the value of orders. It is very hard to survive now, he added. Economic growth is already decelerating due to the effects of both the government's program to reduce debt and the trade war with the United States. At the beginning of November, President Xi Jinping convened an unprecedented symposium of private entrepreneurs and told them that Beijing would help them. The Chinese private sector has long complained that it is being taxed to death, and this burden was one of the top 3 concerns cited by mainland private firms in a survey conducted last year by the All China Federation of Industry and Commerce. The total amount of taxes paid by state-owned enterprises, SOEs, dropped by 6.5% following the switch to VAT in 2016, but the private sector's tax burden jumped by 16.8%, according to the data from the State Administration of Taxation. Private enterprises that year paid 1.5 trillion yuan, $218 billion in the form of 10 different corporate taxes. In total they paid 24 billion yuan, $3.4 billion, more than SOEs. Since these taxes are based on the number of workers a firm employs, and given that private sector firms employ 80% of urban workers, social tax payments push the total burden on the private sector well above that on the state sector. Private firms used to pay social taxes based on deals with local tax authorities that allowed them to calculate their bills at the minimum wage rate, a legal expedient that ensured their continued profitability. Unless there is a structural overhaul of fiscal expenditures, such as handing over some infrastructure projects to private enterprises or reducing the number of civil servants, it will be hard to cut taxes much, Hu said. In May, China reduced the value-added tax rate, the largest levy that Chinese companies pay, by just 1 percentage point, well below what the market and the private sector had hoped for. Although the State Council, China's cabinet, has started a special research project to document the extent of government and SAW payment arrears to private sector firms, according to a document seen by the Post, there is currently no data on how much is owed by state entities. But Quan doubted that researchers would be able to uncover the true extent of the problem. Labor and other costs will continue to rise no matter how the Chinese economy is performing, according to last month's Business Conditions Index compiled by Cheung Kong Graduate School of Business in Beijing. Quan was even more cautious, saying his business was unlikely to survive an economic downturn. Now, I am thinking more about making my personal life stable, he said. Source: https://www.scmp.com/economy/article/217966/how-us-trade-war-could-leave-chinese-private-firms-risk-being